Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Opportunity Podcast. I'm your host, Gregory Elfring. Luke is a very interesting cat who is earning six figures per a month with SEO, right? So this is like so fascinating. One of my friends in Bangkok, he's developing a website directory software for local businesses. And that made me go down this whole rabbit hole on this like form of SEO that I hadn't looked to in years. And I was just curious, what's it like? So I found Luke. I found him actually from another podcast he was on, Side Hustle Nation. And I was really intrigued. And when I was in Boston at the Inbound event, I actually met Luke for dinner. He drove down from New York. We had a dinner. We talked about it. And he agreed to come on to this podcast. So this is an awesome podcast. This is a value-packed episode. Very cool guy. I hope you guys all enjoy it. And I will see you on the other side. All right, Luke, I am happy you are here. I will already have introduced you by the time our listeners get to this point, but it's funny, man. We've been trying to do this interview for like 3 months, I think, at this point already, or close to it. But we finally met in Boston. We made a date happen. So it was very cool meeting you in person. For our audience out there, give us a brief introduction about yourself and where you are in the world right now.
Yeah, my name's Luke Vanderveer. I'm currently in Rochester, New York. My background is HR and marketing, which I did in college. Didn't like that, so I kind of learned SEO on the side and turned it into something else completely. And now this is all I do.
Yeah, I think what you're doing with SEO is fascinating. It reminded me a lot of my initial start in marketing, because my initial start was with a local marketing agency, or trying to make one happen rather. And I stumbled into Rank and Rent, which I never really got off the ground before eventually oil field days overtook me. But I always been fascinated by the model. And I was talking to a friend of a friend who is developing a software that is like a mass page directory builder. And he was having me test it out. Like, yeah, sure, I like that stuff. And that sent me down this whole rabbit hole, which eventually led me to a podcast you did with, I think it was Side Hustle Nation. I should totally get this Luke guy on here. This sounds awesome because he's like up to date on it. I haven't met anyone who's up to date on it since all those years ago. So walk me through the process. So we're going to talk about Rank and Rent and define those terms in a second, but tell me about your entrepreneurial journey going from HR to where you are now. What was like kind of the phases of your journey?
Yeah, I guess it was first determined I didn't want a job and I can't work for somebody else. And it didn't take long to do that. Just a few months into full-time work after the MBA program at Albany. And I just could not come to terms with the fact that I was going to have to work till 65 or whatever people work to, if they can even retire at that point. I'm just seeing all these people that were approaching that age on the team I was on, just in the benefits department. Everybody's like 64, 65. Some people are a little bit older, and they're talking about how they finally have time to do what they want and like all this stuff. Like, I've missed birthdays, I've missed friends and weddings, and just all these things that they never got to do because of work. And I'm sitting there like, I could still prevent this. We got to find a way out of here. So it took me onto Google, of course, how to make money online.
That is such the classic search.
That's what people do, right? Straight to Google.
I've interviewed, I think, 6 or 8 people since I've taken over this podcast, probably more now. And 3 of them, when I talked about how they get into space, like, well, I do what everyone does. Google, make money online.
Yeah, I mean, what else? Like, I don't know people that are successful online. And if it's just me, everybody else is in the same situation. I got to find somebody I don't know.
How did that rabbit hole turn out for you? Like, did you have to weave and dodge a bit before you stumbled upon Rank and Rent SEO?
Yeah, it was all over the place. If I find something, I'll commit to it. I hadn't thought this through completely. Now, my new process is think out the end that you want and then work backwards to find the model that's going to get you there. Before, I just go on whatever was going to get me money so I could get out faster. So I tried everything. I tried MLM. I was doing that with Market America, Shop.com, Amway, all those people. We were trying to like recruit them. So that was one. Then I had an eBay business for a while. Went really hard with that one. Got like a truck, a 4,000 square foot warehouse with a massive rent, all this stuff, trying to find something to get money. But that wasn't actually the thing, because once I got a lot of money, it was like a stupid income we were making, but it wasn't passive. So I was just working crazy hours. And I was like, really? I'm like paid like a basic McDonald's employee or something with the amount of hours I work. So if you split it up,
a fancy minimum wage job.
I need upfront work to pay me passively. So that's kind of when I stumbled onto Rank and Rent.
Was there a certain thing you saw that like caught your eye? Like what was your first brush with SEO in general? I'm assuming you knew about SEO before you found Rank and Rent, or was it the other way around?
I had a very brief idea of what it was, but I didn't really grasp how powerful it could be. And I heard people talking about it on YouTube, just of what you could kind of do with SEO. And I was like, this is brilliant. So I actually started with an SEO agency. But after picking up a bunch of clients, I once again realized that this is just another job, until I was talking to somebody about real estate. And I realized that I could just treat a website like a digital property and just rent it out. And that would remove all of my problems with clients and actually make it passive.
I love that. So for everyone out there, like I will have introduced this briefly in the intro I'm doing, but maybe just describe Rank and Rent very briefly for everyone in the audience in your own words.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an organic lead generation method using SEO where you're going to find a profitable niche. You're going to build a website to generate leads for it. And then you rent that website out to a business owner who wants the leads.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very similar to a local SEO agency, only you own the website at the end of the day, not the client, more or less. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of people in our audience are going to be pretty familiar with this strategy. And I think a lot of people don't realize, like, they treat it as like a small thing because they don't see how big it can truly become. But you're doing 6 figures per month right now with Rank and Rent, which is absolutely insane. One of the biggest Rank and Renters, maybe the biggest person I know in space with Rank and Rent now. You're just like, underneath the radar with all these sites, which I think is super cool. And we're going to talk about towards the end of this interview, even bigger stuff you're doing with the skill set with brick and mortar businesses. But first off, let's talk about the SEO agency idea versus Rank and Rent. Like in terms of operational efficiency, how different are these two different business models?
I think the SEO agency requires a lot more help. You need more VAs, more contractors doing the work, unless you're doing it yourself, which I originally tried to do. And obviously, you learn very quickly that's not possible. But there's just so much more involvement with the SEO because people are always reaching out. The client always needs something, whether you're updating their site or you're sending them reports and taking their phone calls and working on their site versus creating something yourself from scratch the right way. If they've already screwed things up, it just takes more work, more effort. And with Rank and Rent, you could start something perfectly and do it like really well from the start. You don't have to worry about what the client wants because it doesn't matter. It's what you want, and you find the client that fits what you have in mind.
Yeah. So you're saying the main friction with the SEO agency versus Rank and Rent is just dealing with the client. Like, hey, will you make my logo bigger? Stupid stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Stuff that's something that you should have to do. Right. This is stuff that can be easily outsourced. And these are things that are not moving the needle for ranking or generating more leads. It's just nitpicky things that me personally don't want to deal with. So
Yeah.
happy to not do that.
I could see that. It must have been a thrill relief. I know most of us, the SEO background, were quite introverted. So anything we could do, like not to talk to another person, like that sounds awesome.
Yeah. And even just selling it too, right? Trying to convince people, hey, I'm going to get you leads in X amount of time, but here's case studies. I've done it before. And you're trying to convince this person, like, I can do this, but they don't have any proof. They don't actually know you can. And they've been screwed by 7 other people. So they're not exactly trusting when you're telling them this.
Well, Luke, seven's a low number. You and I both know it's probably closer to like
Much
16,
higher.
17 at this point. And then they rejected like the 200 other people who just bought like an SMMA course that's cold calling them.
I was being conservative.
Yeah. That is awesome. I had that question for later on, but let's talk about how you actually sell this. So, in a typical SEO agency environment, like you are really trying to sell air to that other person because SEO takes a while. It's a lot of like
Right.
leap of faith for someone coming in, but Rank and Red, you already have it done. So, tell me
Right.
about how different that sales process is.
Yeah. So, I mean, for the SEO agency, I tried like a lot of people do with calling, and I just needed to find something that was a little bit more custom. So I trained VAs. Well, I originally did it myself, and then I trained VAs to do it, but basically create a case study video. So the first person I ever worked with, I did it for free, and I just crushed it for them. And then I had a case study video with that person and basically just interviewed them kind of like a before and after. Here's what happened in the business. Here's where the numbers were. Here's where they are now. Here's how many leads they're generating. I had a video that showed the back of the call system, see how many leads were coming in, kind of how the whole process worked, really nuts and bolts so they could see what's happening. And then I was like, listen, you're a different niche, but I could do the same thing for you too. And then I just kept using that and creating case studies for each person so that every time I want to go in that same niche, it makes it a little bit easier each time because I'm like, hey, I just did this for the tree service in Dallas. I did it for the tree service in Austin. I did it for one in New York. I did it for one in Canada. You're another one on the list. And while some of your stuff is unique, this process is not. So I can help you crush this too.
And this was still how you were selling the SEO agency, or is this how you're
This is
doing
how I was
the
doing
rank and rent?
SEO too. Yeah,
Okay,
I was doing it like this. I
gotcha.
didn't want to have a big team and all this stuff. So I tried to make it as custom as possible. And some of the video would be custom. The majority of it would be kind of scripted. Like the proof would be scripted because that was already done. So I could just kind of splice the videos together. The custom piece would be walking through their website initially on what they did wrong. And then, hey, here's how I can help. Look what I've done.
So this was all cold email. Did you get any results out of that?
Yeah, I mean, if we'd send out like 100 emails, around 100 emails a day, you'd get like 2, 3 responses. And then out of the 2, 3 responses, I'd book 2 of them and then I'd close one of them.
Nice. And then you'd hate your life because now you have to make logos bigger.
Because then it's just another person I got to deal with staff. And yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, that's funny. Cold email, that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down. I won't, but I'm fascinated by cold email in general. Like, I've done a ton of cold email, most of it very manual, not at scale, but I think it's funny when people do all like the gimmicks. But in general, my experience, cold email has always been best. It just, here it is, this is the price, interested, yes or no. Like that always seems to work the best for me. In terms of the rank and rent stuff, though, once you have that ranked, instead of sending this custom video, are you just calling the businesses in that geography? Is that how you're getting these people to rent it?
Yeah, so there's different ways to do it. I've done it multiple ways. So like one would be call somebody in advance just to get an idea of the market and be like, hey, I'm coming into the market. I'm going to have leads for this in like 2, 3 weeks. Is this something you'd potentially be interested in if I could send you some work? And I'd be talking to people who already want that, people who are paying for leads already, like Home Advisor, Thumbtack, Angie's List, people that I know need the business and are willing to pay for it. So it lessens the friction when I'm talking to them about this. And like they're having a hell of a time trying to work with those large lead generation companies. So it makes me look that much more attractive. So that's one. The other one that I personally like more, because I don't necessarily love reaching out to people, even though I do it, is generating leads first and then coming to them with leads in hand and different types of pitches with what I'll say on the phone. But essentially, like, hey, I built a website for this. I have a ton of people who are reaching out for this service, whatever it is. Can you help these people? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then usually they'll say, how did you get these? So I tell them a little bit about what I do. And I'm like, listen, test these out. Let me know how it is. If you want more, I can do this all day. And I'll just follow up with them. So I'll give them some free leads for a day or two.
What's your response rate on stuff like that? Are they like, yes, I'm interested most of the time, or do you do some like overcoming objections like you would with your typical SEO agency?
It usually depends on the niche and the size of the company, more the size of the company. If you can get the owner directly, it's like 80% success rate because they're like, oh, this is awesome once you explain it a little bit. Because I think a part of it is just the confidence in my voice because I know I can do it. And I've done it so many times. The conversation's just like, oh, hey, man, like you're talking to a friend. But if you get like a secretary or you hit that first level of person and you can't get to the owner, then it's a little bit different. So now we got to try to find the owner's phone number or the owner's email and approach this a little bit differently.
Yeah, that makes sense. Getting around the gatekeeper, all that good stuff. How many rank and rent websites are in your portfolio right now?
I have a few hundred.
A few hundred. No big deal. You would make some domain brokers blush with your portfolio size. I love
It
it.
doesn't require the maintenance that an SEO company does, which is why it's
For
possible
sure.
to do.
Right. You said you wanted to keep your team lean earlier when you were doing the agency stuff. I imagine your team is pretty lean with the rank and rent business. Like, so what does your team structure look like right now?
So I basically just say a niche I want, a city I want to do, and I say go. We communicate over Slack. I got 3 people, one person that does website stuff if I need them, and the other 2 just write content and do kind of the citations and the link building work.
Are these like kind of offshore outsourced VA style, or are these people
Yeah.
you've known? Gotcha.
Yeah, they're all Philippines, all hired from onlinejobs.ph. So great website.
Well,
Love
I'll put our affiliate link in there for which.
that. I've never met the owner, but it's helped me out multiple times. So that's solid.
This is very cool. I want to get into the building process, but before I do, in terms of the type of local businesses you are reaching out to do this type of stuff, is there a certain type of business? Like you mentioned home services. Is that like the kind of the bread and butter of this niche? Or can it also work in other stuff like med spas, salons, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot. And I think for me, I like home services just because it's easier. Here's why. If you, let's say you pick some place with a location like a salon or like a med spa or whatever, I can generate all kinds of leads, but I don't know if it's having an effect because I want something phone driven so I could track it. I could track it with reports and just what's going on in the metrics, like call tracking system, call tracking metrics, call rail, whatever I want to do. But if it's something where they visit in person, I don't really know if it's having an effect. And then I have to follow up with the business owner, and I don't have the leverage when I approach them to close a deal because I don't know what they actually got. Where if I do it with this, I know how many form fills came in. I know how many email requests they got. I know how many calls they got. So I can say, you got all of this. Here's what I want in return if you want this to keep happening.
Yeah, that
So I
makes
think that's
sense.
the main reason for choosing that niche. But people also don't think like this is a skill set. It doesn't have to apply to rank and rent specifically. You could just use this to blow up any business. Doesn't matter what it is or where it is.
Yeah, which we're definitely going to talk about at the end because I think you're doing something very interesting with the brick and mortar businesses. But we'll save that plot twist towards the end. But before we go deeper into everything else, what are some common mistakes you see people make with rank and rent? Is there something that is like a trend? Because I know you coach a lot of people on how to do this as well, right?
Yeah, I think it's just choosing the niches initially is one of the hardest things. It's usually mindset and choosing the niches. The people I've worked with on this, a lot of them are 9 to 5ers, some of them are business owners. The 9 to 5ers tend to come in with a mindset issue where they expect to work a little bit and then get paid some. And it's not like that. This is bust your ass up front, put in a ton of work, and then you will eventually get paid, like a delayed gratification. So you have to be used to that. The business owners are used to that, so they do much better. And then
They're
kind of across the
used to the
board,
slog.
hopefully. Right, right. Just pushing forward. It's going to come eventually. I know it will. If you can have that mindset, then you can be really successful with this and crush it. It's just not instant.
When it comes to the mindset stuff with your students you've coached and they're getting hung up on niche. So me personally in my space with Empire Flippers, selling businesses, people always ask me, what's the best niche? What's the best niche? Like what's the best niche for
Yeah.
to get the highest valuation or the best one to buy? And I actually did a study on this. So I was so sick of the question. And I looked at the data and there was no niche. There was no niche that stood out dramatically from the others. So
Right.
nowadays my mindset is usually like, hey, people are buying stuff in that niche, it's probably a decent niche. Like, is that
Right.
kind of your general thoughts as well with like home services in general and this rank and rent stuff?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are really good. I mean, sometimes there are some that I won't do simply because Google My Business is part of the overall process, right? If you want a spot on page one, I want organic and the maps. I don't want to just do one or the other, although you can. And there's still plenty of people who are successful at that, me included, but I want both. So I know certain Google listings are going to be difficult to get, like locksmith, for example. It's near impossible to get that without having a video walking through your locksmith store that you have, like showing client list, all this stuff to Google. So I'm not going to do that, right? Because I can't just fabricate all. I mean, I guess you could fabricate all this, but I'm
the
not going to
ultimate, the
fabricate all
ultimate
that.
long con.
So let's just make it easy and skip those ones that are going to be really challenging. And then some of the other ones we've just learned that are difficult, like anything with a long sales process. So try to
Got
go like short sales process, home service, I love, phone driven. And then it's kind of just picking the right size market to do it in. Like, what is the right level of competition versus ease of us being able to do this process? And I think that's where people get stuck.
Let's talk about the GMB stuff and the overall ranking process here. So years ago, when I was first looking to Google My Business, like in rank and rent stuff, like it was pretty easy. Ever since I went down this rabbit hole for my developer friend, like whoa, man, it's gotten way harder in my view. So pretty much everyone in our audience is going to know. But go ahead, explain that briefly, and then like the challenges a rank and rent SEO would face with the GMB.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to know, but when you do a search, Google's going to show you ads if people are advertising on Google Ads. They're going to show you the maps, and it's going to have all the local businesses that are in the area for whatever that category is that you're searching in. And then 10 organic results below that, and then probably some more ads. And ideally, like there's been studies done by Marketing Land, Search Engine Land, all these other marketing companies that are a lot bigger, showing the results. And organic search, that number one spot's around 31% of the traffic. Maps, they haven't done as many studies on this, but it looks to be pretty close. So if you have a spot in the map and a spot in the organic search, you're getting at least half the traffic of the page because the majority of people are lazy, me included. I'm not going to Google something. I'm going to pick somebody off the first page. I'm not going to go 10 pages deep unless you're really that price shopper person that wants to go through all that. But that's not the norm. The majority will just pick the first one or one of the first few. So it's really important to get that. And that's a key piece of the process. So we'll use some address to get a Google My Business listing up, kind of hook that in with the website and then rank the website from invisible to number one. So we got double the traffic, stuff from the maps, stuff from organic.
Have you seen? I mean, you own enough sites that you probably have some interesting data on that. Like, you might be able to run your own little data study on it. Like, when it comes to just ranking in the organic listings versus the GMB, like, how much of a bump on average are you seeing once you get the GMB rank?
It's like half the volume.
Half the volume?
That's what I've seen.
I actually thought it was going to be closer to like 70% of it was coming from the GMB, or do you think that's too much?
It really depends on how many keywords you rank for. So if I'm going to go for something, I don't just do a few keywords. I'm going to rank for everything you could possibly find for that keyword. So I think that's why it's half and half for me. But if you did what a lot of people will do is they'll just pick a few big keywords and rank for like 5, 6 on page one and just leave it, then it'll be closer to 30-70.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk about the actual ranking process. Well, actually, before we get into the ranking, how do you get the GMB as the rank and runner? Like, is there a certain tried and true strategy? So this is kind of funny. I think I told you this when I was in Boston. So I'm kind of friends of the guy who runs the legit marketplace. And one of my other
Yeah.
friends, he was telling me like, oh yeah, you just buy gigs off of legit for it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know he sold that. So I go to the local SEO section, like it's not there at all. I reached back out to my friend. He's like, "Oh yeah, they stopped doing that at Google." I reached out to him.
Yeah,
Stop selling this service.
that's right.
It's always a battle between SEO and Google. It's an endless
Right.
UFC match. And yeah, what's your tried and true method for the GMB, or any advice you can give to people?
Some niches, it doesn't matter way you do it, you'll be able to get something instantly. And some you just have to try 50 different methods before you get it through. So my favorites are people I personally know, starting with that. Like I will just, if I have addresses, I have access to like my apartment, my house, investment property, I'll use those first. Then I'll go to my immediate friends, whoever I've got in my phone, and I can say, hey, bro, can I just send you a postcard quick? And usually they're cool with it. And then I'll start going to family members, which occasionally you'll have to pay them if you don't talk to them that much.
The old family discount.
Right? Yeah. Listen, man, I'll give you $50. Just tell me the code when this thing comes in. And I'm not going to explain all this stuff. Well, like they don't need to know all this.
Right.
Then I'll go to Facebook. Facebook's got something called graph search. So you could do friends who live in, if you just type that in the search bar, and then whatever area. So like friends who live in Dallas. It'll pull up all your friends in Dallas. So I'll start reaching out to people. Now, Facebook's a little bit different because not all those people are actually friends. They're just, you may have seen them once or whatever the case is. So you might have to build up a little rapport before you start pitching them to get your mail.
Luke, I'll have you know, all 1,000 plus friends of mine on Facebook are dear and near to my heart. I know every single one of them.
Are they? Right.
Pretty sure we're friends on Facebook. Are you saying we're not
We are.
close? Luke.
We, I don't know, man. You want to get a postcard for me?
Let's send it to Ho Chi Minh City. Let's see how the rig and red model works out
Yeah,
here.
I haven't done any SEO in Vietnam yet, so probably good for that for a while. I mostly focus US and Canada. Yeah, friends and family. You can go Facebook groups that are local is a good one. You can get stuff off Craigslist. You could use job sites like Indeed. I've gotten addresses lots of different ways, and then it's just trying to get it approved.
How is that approval process? Is it like super brutal, or is it really niche dependent?
It's really niche dependent. So some of the niches that are not heavily spam just go right through. You'll have no issue, especially if you just use some random person's address, because it's almost like this person has a clean IP. They've never done anything to piss off Google, so it's going to go through fine. But if I have a million things on mine and I submit something here, it's not going through. You just
Right.
won't get a postcard, or they won't give you that option.
Once you have the lucrative GMB, finally, the jewel of the Google Maps, how do you
Yes.
go to actually build it and rank it? Like for whatever, tree stump removal, Miami, or whatever. Like, what are the ranking factors of a Google My Business? Is it different than organic?
It's definitely different. The biggest one that I really like is just in the title, get the keyword into the title. And personally, I try to make it sound like an actual business. So if you wanted to go for like a roof for New York, I'm not going to name the GMB roof for New York because it's simply get flagged when one of the other competitors gets pissed seeing you up at the top. So if Google doesn't flag it itself. So I'll try to pick something that will sound like an actual company. I'll go through the keywords that look good, based on high search volume, hopefully a lower difficulty than the others relatively, and a high cost per click. So I know that people are advertising on it's a good keyword. And I'll try to pick something that sounds like a company name, like NYC Roofers or New York City Roofing Pros or whatever. I got New York City Roofing, the keyword in there, but it still sounds like a company name.
Gotcha.
So that'll make it a little bit easier. That's one of the biggest ones. That's going to directly impact whether you show up in that top 3 once you start doing citations and some of the other things.
Do reviews take into account in the ranking process on a GMB at all?
They definitely help. But the funny thing about this is, like, if you get one of these addresses, you get the GMB live, you have that, got a keyword in the title, you start doing some citations, you can go right past people that have hundreds and hundreds of reviews. So I'm not going to
Really?
say that it doesn't have an impact, because it definitely does. But it's not as big of an impact as some of the other things, like the citations that you choose to use and whether or not that description in the citation is unique, which a lot of people don't talk about.
Yeah, you were mentioning that. Everyone just spams citations that says the exact same thing, but you're actually individually writing those out.
Yeah.
Do you have like a whole assembly line for that where it's like, I have the same niche in this town, so you can use the same citations, you just change out the geos? Because like each one is unique that you wrote, or do you rewrite them unique each time?
I rewrite them unique each time. Well, I personally don't, thank God, but I have people personally write them each time.
The beauty of delegation.
Yeah, I mean, you could outsource everything in this business model, which is one of the reasons I like it so much.
That reminds me, I had one of my marketing specialists, one of my blog writers. He got the unfortunate luck of writing this affiliate program, like roundup review. It ended up being this insanely long piece that had like 20 or 30 different programs he had to write about.
Oh
And at the
man.
end of it, they're like, I'm sorry, man, but you still got to write the next blog post next week. I know that.
Oh,
I
send him a vacation.
felt bad for the guy. Let's talk about the citations real quick. I see the citations in the affiliate space as well. So if people are building out affiliate sites, they'll often use citations as kind of a pillowing for them. And they won't do a GMB or anything, but they'll still use those as pillows. For your process, I would think that if you want to rank organic as well as the GMB, like citations are important for both, but you should really wait till you get the GMB to do the citations, right? Because shouldn't those be the same address, or does that not matter?
So I've done this both ways to try this. This is always my thing, trial and error, see what happens, and then tweak it from there. I will not do it until I get the address, and I've seen that the thing is live and verified on Google, because some of the citations are just a pain to update. You'll send things in and they won't update it, or they will, and Google doesn't visit that page. So then it's just like they haven't been there in a month, the spider or whatever. So it's not updated. And then it's just not helping with rankings because it needs to be consistent.
Yeah, citations, is that the main backlink strategy you're using for your local sites, or are you doing other stuff too?
And that's the main thing for the GMB. I like using that first just because it gets some of those generic anchors in there and it
Yeah,
makes it
that
look a
makes
little bit
sense.
more normal, if you will. There's people I've seen that do this. Everybody will choose a lead gen. They won't do a GMB and then they'll just start throwing keyword anchors. And like, you can't do that anymore. It needs to look normal. So we got to have some website URLs, some variations, and like a click here, check this out, random person's name, Mike. Yeah, we got to have some stuff like that to make it look like an actual business, because nobody
Right.
comes in and just gets a million keyword anchors. Like, it doesn't work like that. So I really like the GMBs for this.
Even if it was a real business, like if you're a local entrepreneur doing this, you should also do that, because Google is also going to treat you the same way. It doesn't matter if you're real or not. So
Right. I want to do this as fast as I can possibly go conservatively so I don't get smacked and then have to just redo this whole thing. Yeah, citations are big for this.
one of the things you and I were talking about when we had dinner in Boston together, which shocked me, this is kind of what I was setting you up for, was the fact that you use blog comments. Like, I haven't
Yep.
seen anyone talk about using blog comments as a backlinking strategy since, I don't know, probably 2013, 2014, maybe 2015. People still were doing it and it was still like talked about. But nowadays, no one ever talks about. I mean, comments are barely even a thing on a blog, a lot of blogs nowadays. So tell me about this, because I think this is one of the most like, I don't know why I'm so fascinated with this, but to me, that is just like a hallmark of like how different local SEOs versus say like a national campaign that you do SEO for.
Yeah, so it still works great for local. I haven't used it as much on the national ones, but I still have a couple sites that have blog comments that are national. So I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but I've tested this heavily with local and it still works. I think they just believe Matt Cutts, just whatever he says.
That Cut's legacy is still
Yeah,
carrying on.
they're still listening to this. He had some posts at one point. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was like stick a fork in it, blog comments are done. And then I don't know if that was the thing where people were like, all right, well, we're not going to do it anymore. I guess it doesn't work. Like if everybody's doing something, I'm usually thinking like, okay, there's maybe the other way still works. Like I don't go with the sheep. I'm going to go the opposite way and see what happens. So I tested it. It still works. I got a lot of sites I'm using this with and it still works great. So it's one of the methods among others.
I have a good friend, Kyle Roof, that runs Page Optimizer Pro, but he actually got like banhammered by Google manually once. They did this SEO contest, and I think it was in Bali a few years ago, where he won, which is basically ranking a website with lorem ipsum. So just like the the Latin words as every new WordPress blog starts off with, and he ranked it for like a decently competitive like local word. I think it was like rhinoplasty somewhere in Texas, and this whole website was just complete nonsense in Latin, and he's ranking for it. It became like he was doing it like, look, man, you only need to do some on-page SEO, and the rest can be alarm ipsum for like all that Google cares about. And Google really did not like that, so they found out like his agency. They tried to find all of his websites and like make an example of him. Like, this is
Oh,
your
God.
typical Google propaganda move right here.
Right. Ouch.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I mean, he laughs about it now. He wasn't laughing during the process,
No,
though.
no. I heard Matt doing something like this too. He like ranked himself best looking guy in some city, or maybe that was a client of his.
Oh, that's a whole thing in the digital nomad community out here
That
in
was
Asia,
funny.
man. Like, I think James Dooley is the most beautiful woman in all of the UK or something like that. So yeah, they'll often like joke with each other by like ranking their images for random keywords.
Hey, show that to a client. Be like, look, I can make myself the most attractive female in Australia. You know, I can make you number one for your tree service.
That's awesome. I love stupid nerdy SEO jokes like that. One last question on the ranking process, we'll move on. Are you using things like private blog networks as well, or have you kind of phased that out, or maybe never really used them?
I still use it. I really like it. I like blog comments for more general stuff. So like a maybe a partial match keyword, some generics. I really like citations for just the randomness it provides. And then PBNs as like the icing on the cake to just hit with the more powerful exact match anchors that I want to put in. But I'm not going to do something like roofer Dallas TX because that's stupid. It doesn't go into a sentence. I'm going to make it sound like it's an actual thing. And I'll just use that to kind of push it over the top. So I'll use a mix of all of them. And guest posting is in there too. I think that's usually the kind of the standard. And then depending on what happens with rankings, I'll switch different strategies in and out to give it a push.
Do you think you said PBNs are icing on the cake? So do you do a lot of niches without PBNs as well, or do your sites usually have to have like that little oomph from the PBN?
Well, the sites I've been focused on more recently need the PBNs for that extra boost, but just for testing things, I've done this. So I have some sites that are all blog comments, some that were all guest posts, some that were all PBN, some that were different combinations of the three to kind of test and see if I could get one to go faster than another in like different cities, but the same niche, like cities of comparable size. And I really don't notice that much of a difference. It's just kind of the volume of guest posts and PBNs if it's a more competitive niche.
Yeah, I think I looked into this once. It was like, I think it was like 5 or 8 guest post links, more or less equated to a PBN link, like very roughly. There's so many variables, but you need like 5 times, 8 times more quote unquote white hat links to outperform a single PBN link. And obviously, because you don't control the anchor text and a lot of that stuff. So I'm sure
Right.
that's a factor in that. That's interesting. That's cool. I want to move into more of the business systems behind this, away from the ranking stuff. But when you do rank one of these websites, how are you charging the client? Are you doing paid per lead? Or are you doing a flat rate? Are you doing something completely different?
I used to do pay per lead initially, but it's one of those things where Really care about my time and I want it to be as passive as possible. So there's only very few sites where I will do anything like that. Typically, it'll be either free or a commission based thing up front just for a little while to get some buy in or get some goodwill between me and the business. And then I'm immediately switching to a flat fee. I don't care if it's less money for me. I just want it to be passive so I don't have to look at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you'll even undercharge what you know you can get just for the sake of passivity, more or less.
Yeah, just so I don't have to look at it. Like I know some of the sites I could charge stupid amounts of money. But if I just stick with a couple grand or something, I know that they're never going to question that because they're getting like 100x ROI. So it just sits and I don't have to touch it for years. So some of the clients I just haven't, I mean, this is probably not a great thing to advertise, but some of the clients I haven't talked to and I don't even know.
This is the right audience to say
It's a
that
good thing, but I probably should follow up, maybe like a happy birthday or something, but I just don't because it doesn't matter. They're getting the stuff. They don't care. They're going to keep paying.
to. That's awesome. Yeah, I see these guys start marketing agencies online, and I'm always fascinated with it because, like, doing a bunch of marketing for a bunch of different businesses, you learn a ton of stuff. But I see these
Yeah.
guys, I just closed this like $6,000, $8,000 a month deal, and they have all this insane copywriting, role reversal, scarcity, urgency as an offer, right? All sorts of like high flying Dan Kennedy kind of stuff, and they lose their client in like 2 months because like after the client like signs up and the fulfillment starts, they're like, oh shit, this is really expensive. So
Right.
like all that heavy work they did up front was for naught. But here you are, not even talking to a client. And what's the longest one of your clients been with you?
Most of them are since the start. I've only had two clients ever leave. One person died. Like the person running the business
Developed a
died. The
quitter.
family just gave it up. Like, yeah, he died from all the volume I gave him.
Dude, the ROI is too insane.
No, the dude died and the family didn't want to do anything with it. So that website, I just took it and found somebody else in like a week and a half. And then the other one, there was a site I did for liquidation. It was kind of along the eBay thing I was doing before. I was getting truckloads of inventory. I was ranking for just large retailers, truckloads of their inventory. And that one was being rented out for a few thousand a month. And then that company got acquired by a larger liquidation company, and the larger one had a completely different idea of what they want to do. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing online lead gen stuff like this anymore. So this is done. And I was like, okay, whatever. And that was another one where I just found somebody else. A couple weeks, we got a new person in there. So it's like I still have the income. And I mean, I guess I technically lost those clients, but it's not from any fault of my own.
Yeah, and the most important thing, you retain the asset.
Everybody else. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 99 point something percent with like every client I've ever had.
Oh, I actually wanted to ask you backtrack on the GMB real quick. So when you do rank that, do you give the people that sign up for the lead to rent the website, do you give them some kind of kickback if they send the reviews over to your GMB, or how do you go about gaining the reviews on the GMB?
Yeah, so I'll usually try to incentivize them. I'll ask them up front if they can just do it in exchange for me sending them the leads, like when I'm trialing it out. So sometimes you don't even have to have a client paying yet. Just like, hey, listen, I'll send you some free work for the next few days if you can just put some reviews on there with anybody that you service. And most people are cool with that. But you could also incentivize them. Sometimes I've knocked off the price for like one of the months if they'll do it. One of my favorite ways was just to create like a contest and tell them, we'll pay out $200 or something. Just have everybody sign up for the contest. And the only way to enter is to write a review. And the reviews have made a difference. It'll increase the call volume if you just get them consistently.
Gotcha. Nice. Very cool. I want to get into the brick and mortar stuff you're doing, but my final question on the rink and rent stuff, now that you've gotten to this height that you're at right now, where do you see like the ability to scale this to? Like how far can someone really take it if they wanted to just go hard, build a team and go for it? Like how far do you think you can go with this model?
Using only rank and rent without doing the other stuff I'm doing?
Yeah, I want to get into that section too, but just like the rank and rent model itself, how big do you think you can go?
I think it's pretty crazy because it was only a few months ago I was around 45 grand a month, and then just a couple clients pushed it over, way over that, because I just kept it on commission deals. And it's just heavily dependent on the niche and how many leads you can bring in for that. And some of the things they're really, really high ticket. And you move a couple of those services or products, and then that's it. And you just come up with a deal with the company and either a commission deal and have them sign a contract or something to make sure you're going to get paid. And it could be a very, very significant income. So just start picking things that are worth the time you're going to put in. Like personal injury lawyer is a good one. I don't, there are higher ticket things, but that's a great one. Like a couple personal injury clients are worth an insane amount of money. So why would I charge 5 grand a month when I can take a percentage of what they're going to get? So I can get like $50,000 off of one lead.
That's fascinating. I want to go down that rabbit hole just briefly. Like, I understand the headaches of pay per lead, and I understand the positive aspects of a low flat rental, just so you don't have to deal with it, like deal with the client or anything. But on the commission side, when you are working on a deal like that with a local business, are you guys signing a contract, or like how do you know that that person is being honest with you in terms of like, yes, we did close this deal and it's the right amount? Like, is there some kind of verification process you're doing with that?
Yeah, I've done this a few different ways. Up front, initially trying to find somebody to work with, I'll just send him stuff. I'll tell him a commission deal and whatever, and we'll set something. But I don't really care, like whether they pay me or not. I just want somebody to take the call so I don't have to, or my team doesn't have to. So they don't know that, but I don't really care. I'll follow up later and try to close that deal. But if it's going to be something where it's really big like that and it's worth a lot, I'll put a contract in place with the client to guarantee that I'm going to get paid from this. And I will make them sign it. We'll have a call together. We'll review the contracts, make sure they don't have any concerns about this, make sure they sign it. And then I'm usually getting access as part of this contract to their CRM or have some way on their system to see what they're getting. And if I'm unable to get that, which sometimes, depending on the niche, they're not going to give you that, I will kind of treat it like a customer service agent, and I will have somebody on my team call the customers after a week or whatever to see how the service was. Basically, run it like a satisfaction survey and be like, how did you like your service? Is there anything we could have improved? All that. But my real intent is to see if they actually serve them and get what they were going to charge and the whole feedback from the customer. So I know for sure whether or not they did it. I'm not taking them at their word if it's going to be a big deal like that.
It's interesting, that tug of war of trust between each other. Usually the person's not trusting the marketer, but the marketer doesn't trust their clients at all.
Yeah, no, if I'm going to put in all that work, it needs to be earned on their part too. So I'm going to
Right.
double check all of that for a long time.
What you're doing, I have a friend, he runs it's a Facebook ads agency, and he does something very similar. He calls it sneaky surveys, where
Yeah,
he added like one of his clients, like, oh, the leads are bad. And he's like, the leads aren't bad. What are you talking about? They're great. And he even has a team that like calls the leads for them. So the client only
yeah,
gets good leads. So his teams qualify them, then does a live transfer. And like the client's like, we haven't had anyone call here. And then my friend showed him all the call recordings and then did a sneaky survey to everyone who had called, and he got all these text messages back like no one picked up the phone. And it turned out the client's phone, his front desk phone, was on do not disturb for like a month and a half,
wow,
but his front desk got just like set and I guess forgot to unset. So like it was a month and a half, all these leads wanted to give him money, and
wow,
he like literally his phone wouldn't ring. He was very embarrassed.
what a waste.
Yeah, it's quite funny, the stuff that happens like that.
I don't know. The thing with me was just having bad experiences with clients. Like I had one person in a pool related niche, and I sent the guy $275,000 worth of business one month in like the summer. And I was like, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, dude, this guy's making bank right now. And he sent me the commission for the end of the month by PayPal, and it was $75. And I was like,
Something's wrong.
I was like, you missed a few zeros there. So I like reached out and he just started ghosting. So I'm calling him from different numbers with like spoof card and other services. And I was like, okay, I see how this is going to go. So I was talking to lawyers and I was like, yeah, screw it. This is not worth my time dealing with him. We'll just switch the process going forward.
Yeah, that's the problem
From
with
there, that was it.
contracts. Like, yeah, I bet that was quite the learning lesson for you, I would assume.
Yeah, that was an expensive one. So
Yeah,
luckily, it didn't cost me that much to generate that amount of business. It just pissed me off that it was that much business for him and he just got that for free.
yeah. If you sought legal action, like maybe to get the money back, but the extra time and the cost of the lawyer and all
It's
that
not worth
stuff.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like contracts are nice to try to keep people honest, but at the end, like they're so expensive to hold up.
Yeah. So, I mean, the contract's good. Just try to pick the right person.
That's the real key. I want to move into your brick and mortar stuff. So I think one of the things that was most fascinating to me when we met for dinner, the fact that you took this model, this local lead generation model, and you scaled it up. Like you're doing really, really well, much better than most people I know who have ever done Rank and Rat. But now you're actually transitioning that into buying your own brick and mortar businesses. So talk to me about that and why you are doing that.
Yeah, I want diversification of income. So the more streams I can have that are passive, the better. And the thing with this skill set and being able to do this is because I know I can take any company and grow it, I can just go acquire a company and then grow that too. So I've been looking into buying local businesses to really just take over whatever that cash flow is that they have. I've looked at car washes, I've looked at a lot of local contractors like roofing, fencing companies, and so forth, because I know that all of them I could apply lead gen and push them to an even higher valuation and either keep it myself if I just want the net income coming into me or resell it to a bigger company because companies just get acquired over and over and over and just resold at higher values to just bigger players.
What's the plan there? Are you specifically looking at businesses in the local market that just aren't very good at it on an SEO front? Is like one of your primary criteria, or are you looking at other stuff?
My buy box right now is companies between with a price of 1 to 5 million, net income 400,000 plus, and either partially absentee owner or full absentee owner so that I don't have to be involved. I can either install somebody to replace the main guy, train them, whatever, and then step back, or it's already absentee owned and I could just kind of manage it from afar or put a person in place to manage it and then just apply some of my lead gen and SEO stuff to it to make it grow and increase it further.
In terms of the businesses you're looking at, I know you're out of New York. Are you buying just in New York, or are you really agnostic to where it is?
It's agnostic to where it is. It's really just dependent on the niche. So this is another one where you got to be really careful with the niche you pick. I'm specifically looking for car washes and as the main one. And then the other ones, it's really just if it meets the rest of my criteria. Car wash one specifically because I know the growth strategy for those. My brother runs one.
Well, there's that, but also the Breaking Bad memes you can do with a car wash.
That's right. That's right. If I want to start laundering money, I could use it. Aside from laundering money, I see it's a really good good opportunity because they produce a lot of cash, 35% margins. And the self serve ones are really good. There's not a lot of stuff you have to do with it. And my brother took a new one that opened up near us from zero to like 150,000 a month in like 4 months. So it's insane what you could do with that kind of business. And I never really knew about that till I started seeing what he was doing. And I was like, well, I'll just provide the capital and the lead gen. You run it, we'll make this thing go. So we're actually looking at one a few states over in a quite the process of due diligence with these people because they're just not very forthcoming with their information. The business owner doesn't really have any clue what he's doing. So they have no marketing, nothing, and the thing's doing a few 100,000 a year. So if we're able to get that, I know that we can take it like 3, 4 times the size of what it is.
It blows me away, man, how much opportunity there is. Literally the name of this podcast, the opportunity, right? Usually we're talking about online businesses, but like just like car washes, like you said, you would have never thought a car wash could make that much money. Like I agree. I also would have never thought about that. There was a guy in Alaska I knew. He was this ex-convict dude that got out of prison, like really rough guy, but he bought a bunch of real estate from my dad. And I remember my dad was a realtor. I remember asking him, like, how do you buy so much real estate? Because you're just like an
Right.
installation guy. And he's like, do you know how much installation businesses make? Like, I have no
Oh,
idea.
money.
Like, it's a lot. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Like, see him just like go around in the attics and stuff. Like, the opportunities out there in business, like in these like niches that people don't really consider, both online and offline, are just absolutely crazy, especially if you understand marketing.
Yeah, seriously. Lots and lots of opportunity across all these different niches.
Yeah, I just had to share that rant with you. There was no question.
No, you're right. And that's a great niche too. That's a good one for lead gen.
Insulation?
Yeah, insulation's a great one. There's subsets of insulation that are better. Look
Interesting.
into it. Lots of good ones.
So after we get your car wash business with your brother, you and I will start an installation business for car washes, and we only serve the car wash you bought. This is a perfect like self-eating circle. Awesome, man. Well, in terms of the local stuff, like what's your like grand vision here of what you're trying to do? Is it just purely like, hey, I want 7, 10 different streams of income? Or are you looking to like, I'm going to buy like 30 car washes, use my local SEO stuff to just like go to the moon with that? Like, what's your ultimate vision here?
I'm going to build a casino.
Now we're talking.
It's going to require a lot of money to be able to do that. It's a whole different income level to be able to afford that. I've realized going through this acquisition process that the funding doesn't all have to come from me. With the SBA through the government, you can get a lot of things. You can do 10% down and buy pretty much, well, most of the businesses. The car washes are a little bit different because it's more like half you'll have to have up front. But lots of different funding options and ways to do this, but you just need a significant amount of capital. So the only way to do that is if I scale some things like this. This will just be a faster route. So in combination with lead gen, we'll get there, but that's a long-term plan because it's going to be a lot.
I did not see the casino answer coming from that question.
I really, yeah, this is heavily influenced by my brother because he loves this stuff. So, but I'm on board with that plan and we're pushing toward that. And I think the local businesses is nice because if you think about it, if you say bought, a small company in a particular niche, let's just say roofer as an easy example, one roofing company, cheap to buy. Then you take other local roofing companies, you use some of the cash from the first one or the profit you have left over from the first one. You can grow this a little bit, use that to start buying other ones and then rebrand them under your name. And now you've rolled it up into a bigger company, which is going to get a higher valuation and it's going to sell for a higher multiple, which means that you're going to be able to get a lot of money for this. So now you could either keep it or you could sell it off to a much larger company, hedge fund, equity company, whatever. And now you got a lot of cash to play with. And now that cash, if you use that as 10% down, you could buy a company that's 10 times the size of what you bought before. And you could just keep doing this up and up and up. So that's one of the things I'm looking at, just kind of like planning out a roll up strategy. But first things first, got to get a couple companies under the belt.
Yeah, I think that's solid, man. So I often talk about a thing in our space called the asset flywheel, which is kind of similar to what you're talking about. Usually it involves exiting one of the businesses. So I tell people to
Yep.
like 200,000 affiliate website, you exit it, you buy four $50,000 affiliate sites. You just keep doing that over and over again. When you build it up like these 4 to 200K, you do an exit. It doesn't take that long to roll in the cash in terms of having a pretty lucrative war chest. Somewhat similar, but in general, if you treat your assets well, they'll begot other assets. So yeah, I think that's a solid plan overall.
Yeah, I'll walk you right through the numbers. I have one of the examples if you want it.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it.
I can't give away the niche because that'll give it away. There aren't that many in the country, but it's around $800,000. And the SBA loan is probably what I'm going to use for this one. Instead of capital or financing from other people, I'll probably use that for the other one. SBA is 10 years. So 800,000 over the 10 years, about 80 grand a year. Divide that by the months. It's going to be around 7 grand plus 8% or so interest that I have to float for the debt service, just pay back SBA. But the net income on the business is 450,000. So across 12 months, it's around 36 grand ish. So 36 grand minus my 7K debt service, I got 29 grand just coming in monthly after the employees are paid and everything's left over. That's just net. So that's a lot of money I could play with. And that's all money that I could use for the next thing we acquire.
Yeah, that's amazing. And eventually, I would imagine you'd be able to use, especially if you do something like a car wash, something that's like a hard asset like land, that you'd be able to
Right.
take the commercial equivalent of a home equity line of credit. I don't know what those are called in the commercial space. Maybe it's just a commercial line of credit, but you could also start using stuff like that, which they tend to have pretty low rates, or at least they used to. I haven't seen them in years at this point. So that's fascinating, man. And to think all this just came from you ranking and renting some like rinky dink affiliate sites, like, or not even affiliate site, just local sites. Like, that's the way most people think about this little tiny aspect of SEO. And like, it's amazing how far you can go when you really just go hard at it. So, but we're at the end of the interview here, man. But before we get to the final part, I do have the rapid fire section. So let me ask you these three questions. You tell me just the very first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready for the rapid fire section?
Oh boy. All right, hit me.
It doesn't sound like you're ready enough, Luke.
All right, hold on. All right,
All
we're good.
right.
Go.
Okay, cool. I really need to get someone to like just edit in some sound bites of like fire alerts going off when I do the rapid fire thing.
I want the let's get ready to rumble guy, but I know we got to pay him, so let's not do that.
Yeah. Okay, so What are the best hidden local SEO tips that people can take advantage of right now?
I think the biggest one is a citations thing. I think it's a massive mistake that the entire industry is making. And I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or out of laziness. But right now, when you go to buy citations, you are asked for one description. And they're going to use that and blast that across everything, like a million different citation sources. You may have the opportunity to do spun description or something, but that's still garbage. They're not going to index at a very high rate. What would happen is if you did them yourself or you wrote them out, had somebody do it for you, unique will get about 80% indexed versus like 10%, 20% if you're going to do spin writing or the AI software. So if you want to have a bigger impact on the maps faster, there's your tip.
I love it. And the answer is laziness, most likely.
Right.
What tools or resources would you recommend for entrepreneurs who want to do more SEO or local SEO specifically?
I really like the call tracking system. I think providing proof of what you're doing upfront is a massive value add that builds up trust with the business owner. Because if I come with leads in hand, I don't have to do any convincing at all. They've already seen the proof.
Yeah, you're using CallRail, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, but you could do it with Twilio, you could do it with SignalWire, you could do it with call tracking metrics. There's a million that you could do it with.
Yeah, I love the call tracking software stuff. There's a lot of cool data you can get out of that. That's a good tip. What has been your funniest moment since you started working in the marketing industry?
Nothing comes to mind for funniest moment. The only things that come to mind are all the catastrophes that happen. Your clients that have just made me lose my mind.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that
Funniest
your
moment's
new
probably
funny.
chatting with you about some of these clients and stuff from the past.
Oh, you just stole my thunder. I was going to say your funniest moment is now having this interview with me.
It is. It is. This is the highlight for sure.
Since you ruined that, we're throwing this whole interview out, Luke. So we're doing less laughing. Awesome. Well, man, I really appreciate you doing this. Thanks again for your patience. For the audience out there, I literally like asked Luke to do this like feels like months ago. So finally we were able to do it. I think this is really cool. I think it's a very cool business model. For someone that wanted to connect to you, either to pick your brain or check out coaching that you have, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Website rentalcoaching.com is my website, or you could always just hook up with me on Facebook.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. It's been fun.